didn't play or didn't get, maybe auditioned or didn't get, that you absolutely think you were the best fit for or could redo, or maybe it was a re-envision of, what would it be? What would be your dream perfect role? And if it's a re-envisionment, how would you change it?
Well, I know from being on the other side of the glass and being a casting person and being a producer what goes into making those choices. And I know that a lot of it has nothing to do with ability. Sometimes it'll be, well, we like so-and-so for this role, but we also like Eric for that role, but he can't play the other role because he'll sound too much like the main guy, so we can't cast them both in the show, we're going to have to go with that guy. So they tried, the choices are not because Eric was not good, it's just, but he sounds too much like the other guy that we also like, so we can't have them both in the same show. And you're like, okay, that's a drag. Or it might be, wow, you know, he reminds me so much of my ex-boyfriend. I saw him in the casting session, I don't want to work with him. It's just going to be too much bad memories. That's happened. I've seen that. I've seen it happen. So I know what goes into sometimes making those choices. So I don't kick myself for, I can't believe I didn't get that role. Because as an actor, in this, if you can do this, you will be able to survive this crazy business. You have to remember to forget. After every audition, you walk out of that room, you forget. You cannot start tallying up the almost roles you could have had, both monetarily and fame and all of that. Because if you do, you'll kill yourself. You'll drive yourself crazy. You have to just go, so what'd you do today, Eric? I read for this bank thing, and then there was a funny show about a guy and it flies, and yeah, it was kind of, that's what you do. Not, oh man, oh, if I got all 5 of those things I auditioned for today, that'd be awesome. And I like a lot of the casting choices that people have made in shows where I thought, you know, I've read for multiple characters in shows and someone else gets the lead and you go, oh, okay, fine. But then I get the other character and I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense. He is better for that based on what this show is doing, and I am better for this. So I get that. My dream role would have been in any format to play Batman. Batman is my favorite superhero. I drive a black Mustang that's called the Batmobile. It's got Batman floor mats. I keep a cowl in the back window. And I tell this to a lot of the panels I go to because everyone in the world would go like, no, 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 man, I'm Batman, I cosplay as Batman, whatever. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a piece of history, and if you can out-Batman me on this, then you can say you're more Batman than I am. So my dad was a defense attorney, criminal defense attorney in Brooklyn. I went to court with him regularly, dressed in those old Halloween costumes that look like garbage bags from age like 8 or 9 as Batman to intimidate the criminals. I've got a picture to prove it on my phone. So if you can outdo that, which is pretty much like 1972, right? Then you can out-Batman me. The idea for me for that is, and that's kind of what I try to bring to my Kaiba stuff, is Batman is 1 degree good. That's that fine line of this to evil, and he's real. He's not, he can't fly. He's not, he can't turn back time. He creates stuff. He's just a guy, and if he wasn't fighting crime, he'd be on a therapist's couch. That's what he would be doing. And so I would love to play a role like that because I just think that the depth of the character is so interesting. Not about the superhero part, about the conflict. I would have loved to have done something, of anything. But of course, Kevin Conroy to me is amazing. I mean, he's amazing. And I'm also a big Christian Bale fan. I like the fact that and this of course going on a little bit of a tangent of that, but when you cast an actor that normally plays a villain to play a hero that's got conflict, it works. Which is why I'm not a big Ben fan. I didn't go to see that movie, and I'm a huge Batman fan. And I don't care, you can tell me it's a good movie. Christian Bale to me is crazy. He's crazy as a guy, he's played crazy characters, and when you put him in a superhero costume like that, he's still 1 notch from being American Psycho. And that's why I loved it, because he was dark. He was the Dark Knight. So I would have loved to have any chance to play Batman. Even in Lego Batman, I would have loved to have played Batman. Yeah, but yeah, there you go. But I mean, look, I've had a very, I mean, I am very happy with the roles that I've booked. There's definitely sometimes I've been disappointed in not getting big accounts, but then I've fallen into things where I go, what? They cast me in that? Okay, and then that becomes a big thing. So, you know, you roll the dice every time you audition, you know, and it's a fun journey. All right, we got a couple more minutes. Got speed round.
How did you feel saying, I'll use my frying pan as a drawing pan?
You know, what's funny is, okay, so I don't even know what the original Japanese is in that moment, but we're talking about comedy and how comedy is very regional. So that must have been funny to the Japanese, because visually he takes the frying pan and puts it over his head while it's raining. So that must have been like, this is the funniest joke in Japan. And so when we got it, our writer looked at it and was like, what is going on here? And of course, he wrote the line, and it just happened to rhyme. I'm sure in Japanese it doesn't rhyme, right? But we could look it up and find out. That was just one of those moments where, and I didn't think it would become such a popular card at all, because, you know, we do things, and of course you guys tell me what your favorite lines are, and that's the only reason I ever know. You've asked me what my favorite lines are in shows. I dubbed Pokemon for 8 seasons and 10 years. I did 8 movies. I never stopped in that time. There was no, this season ended and the next one started. We were already starting the next season like a week after the first one ended. So when you guys had a break for the summer, we were continuing to work. So when people are like, what's your favorite season? I'm like, they weren't all one season. We weren't on just one long journey, you know, where our parents were completely like, whatever. They're out looking for Pokemon. It's all great. You know, where are the adults? So to me, it's all one big blur. And so the only reason I even know what what lines were fan favorites is because fans have told me. All right, last question, and then I'm going to do a little bit of merch stuff before I got to wrap it up, and then get back to my hotel and try to pack up for my trip back to Nash Vegas. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for people who want to start out in voice acting?
I'll do the short version of this. So, every community has the need for the voice services, right? From advertising to you can be doing radio. There is audiobooks can be done from anywhere. Audible has a site that you can sign up for as a narrator called acx.com, where anyone can do it. It's free, and you can audition for book titles all the time. If you've got a quiet room and a laptop and a good microphone, you could be doing audiobooks tomorrow. And they pay in different ways. They pay by the finished hour. Sometimes they pay by the royalty split. Find someone who teaches voice acting is a big thing. If you can find someone maybe in a theater department, we're on a campus. I mean, I know this probably doesn't have I don't know if this is an art department at all, they have a theater. But I'm sure there's one nearby. If there's, find someone who can teach you, at least, you know, mic technique, taking direction, interpretation. But also, being an intern is a big thing too. If there's like a local station, radio station, don't go asking them for a job. Don't go say, hi, I'm interested in doing voice work. Are you hiring? I need the money. Say, I'm interested in being a voice actor. I can give you X amount of hours a week. I want to intern here. I'll take out the trash. I'll make the coffee. I'll do this. In return, you let me watch the on-air personalities and digest that stuff. Because what will happen is, what's your first name?
Tristan.
Tristan. So Tristan's working in the radio station, and a script comes in that requires, a younger voice to read this, and the on-air personality is an older voice. And the producer goes, I don't have time to cast for this. I don't have time to call the agencies and get submissions for this stuff. Isn't Tristan interested in this business? Come on in here for a second. Will you read this 10-second piece of copy for me? And let me hear what you can do with it, because you're in the building. And then you do it, and they go, great. So when these things come in, you're the young voice we're going to use. And if you don't think that's the way it works, that's exactly how it works. That's how it worked for me. I was the coffee guy, and I started getting booked for commercials because I had to run into the room and do something. The difference between asking for money to get your foot in the door and volunteering your time to learn the business means you're in the building. And if you're in the building, you will get asked to do this work faster than if you are just cold calling or sending your demo reel in. So it's give and take. And the last thing is, don't go out and produce your own demo reel with fake copy and your own stock music behind the things. Because a casting director like me is going to know they're not real spots. You need to have a demo reel that sounds like you've been working in the business, even though you haven't. Because it needs to be as competitive as my demo reel. So you need to go to someone who's going to pull real commercials. And if you do funny voices, don't just do a cartoon demo. Do commercials in funny voices. If you can do Dracula, read a Halloween store campaign in a Dracula voice and put that as a piece on your demo reel, because that's what the industry is mostly looking for. There are cartoon production companies that are spread out, and that's not how you're going to make your living as a voice actor. You're going to make your living as a voice actor if you do everything. If you do industrials, if you do audiobooks, if you do commercials, if you can do funny voices. But cartoons, that's not the pot of gold at all. I don't even want to go into what some of these production companies pay you by the hour compared to what a national commercial in America will pay you to just come in and read one spot. It's night and day. So find some people to study with, and also, you know, radio stations, advertising agencies. I'm sure there's advertising agencies here. I hear there's spots, local spots all the time. I just heard them in the car driving around here. Somebody's producing those things. So find out who produces them and see if they will take a demo reel on file, or if they have open auditions. That's what I would do. All right, guys, I'm going to do a little bit of merch sales before I leave. If you guys could be all orderly about that, and then we can just call it a night. But you guys have been awesome, and thank you for having me as a guest here. You truly are like some of the nicest people I've ever met, so I will spread the word about this amazing little place, and keep the weather warm for me. Thanks. Okay?
Sure. We'll try.